I remember I used to just make those comics, and for a while I just stopped for a bit, like when I was busy with like my daughter and stuff, and I was just at that point where I'm like, I don't know, like, is anyone reading this? Like, I had one fan, which was awesome. I was like, I have one fan, but I don't like really know if anybody cares about this stuff. And he's
Right.
like, do it, just who cares,
Yeah.
just do it
Yeah.
anyways. I think it's nice to feel like some of your stuff is actually I don't know, really impacting, but it's like the validation, like, hey, someone saw my stuff and they actually liked it. It's just like
Right.
it's flattering that, oh, hey, like I put effort into this and you think it's
Right.
cool. A little bit nerdy where I'm like, I'm cool. Like this is neat. Because I remember growing up and I was always about the drawing and writing stories. That was my way of dealing with a lot of things, because I was not the sporty girl in school. I was quiet. And I remember like anytime I would be drawing, everyone's like, oh, she's drawing again. That's so boring. But when you're an adult, it's just like, oh, hey, you look back on it and you're like, hey, no, it's just me working on the stuff that I was good at and I believed in it. And even though it was like a small belief at the time, it's just like, I think I just knew what I wanted to do. And I think it was a good thing. And I try to encourage that with my kids. When I was trying to go to the school I was going to, I tried to go into that design course, visual communications, but I didn't get in. I'm like, hey, I thought my stuff was good. Like it was discouraging because I had this plan, I was going to do it. And then my parents were like, okay, you know what? Then do something else. Do something that involves math. Be this or that. I'm bad at math. Why would I be an accountant? Everyone's like, okay, then do medical stuff. I'm like, I do care about people, but I don't think I would be good as a nurse because that's just not where I was meant for. That's not where I would be. My passion was mostly with arts and stuff. And it was hard because I didn't at the time have anyone in my family who was in that to convince my parents that until my godbrothers. My godbrothers took that course that I was trying to get into. It was still new at the time because it's like, everyone's like, oh, that's not a job. But they were able to make a living at it. After they started getting that like successful in it, it paved the way for me to be like, hey, I'm going to do this. In the mom comic thing, because I'm like, it is hard to balance. That's why it's kind of real into my own experience, because I base all my comics as like my little journal for myself. It's like, so I'm like, how can I make this easier and still, make like little templates. I redrew everything. Like that's the recent ones that I made it into templates, so I just copy and paste my expressions that I want. What I did was like for my comics, like you can set it to publish at certain dates. So I do a whole bunch of comics one day. Like I always have to keep track. Like, oh hey, I'm like I publish up to this certain date. There at times like it's like hard to keep up with because it's like I want to not just publish for the sake of publishing. I want to make sure that I can make it still funny and still relate to the things I deal with without just saying like, hey, I'm just publishing it just so I can get it done. It's not the amount that you got to focus on. It's just the quality that you got to do. And that's the big part.